Hello! Thank you for your investment in the Foundations for Literacy curriculum. This video will give you an overview of the kit contents as well as guide you as you assemble your kit so that your materials are easily accessible, organized, and ready for you to teach. When you receive your materials from the print shop, they will come in a brown box. The first thing you need to do is pull out the production manual, overview, and orientation. Please read this in its entirety, as this is the document you will use as you assemble your kit. Your Foundations for Literacy kit includes a manual that will guide you as you implement this curriculum, a jump drive. This has materials as well as a digital copy of your production guide. It also includes unit-specific materials, frequently used materials, which are materials that are used across multiple units, as well as practice time materials. Let's take a look at the production manual overview and orientation guide. Remember, you found this in your brown box of materials that you received from the printer. Also, this guide is available on your jump drive in a digital copy. This first page outlines every single material that is included in your kit. Also, there is a paragraph at the bottom that explains how to register for the Foundations for Literacy teacher website. This website has valuable downloadable resources for you to use and implement as you teach. So please register for the website and peruse so you know what resources are available to you. Next in your production manual is a list of the materials we recommend you purchase to organize your kit. 3 things to note about these materials. 1. Every item has a Staples number listed underneath it. Take this item number, put it into a search engine, and you will go right to the Staples page so you can easily purchase these. The second thing to note is that if you access this manual digitally from your jump drive, there's also links to purchase. So you click on the link, and again, it will bring you right to the website so you can purchase the materials. The third thing to note is that we've also listed alternatives for some items. For example, if you do not want to use banker's boxes, we have also suggested that you could use a file cabinet or crates that you might already have in your classroom. The rest of the production manual guides you as you produce and assemble your kit so that you are ready to teach your students. There are 2 phases of assembly. The first phase is called initial assembly. The focus of this first phase is to get all of the materials out of the brown box you received from the print shop and into unit-specific folders so that you're ready to start teaching as soon as you can. Pages 6 and 7 of the manual provide detailed descriptions of every type of material that you will have in your kit, as well as instructions of where to sort and organize each material. The second phase of assembly is called full assembly, and the last 2 pages of your production manual outline how to do this. The focus of this second phase is to take the material that you have previously sorted from the unit folders and further sort them into frequently used materials as well as practice time. So that way you have quick and easy access to any type of material that you use while you teach. Now that you have seen the entire production manual, we're ready to start assembling your kit. So you will turn to pages 4 and 5 of the production manual to the initial assembly instructions and follow each individual direction as you assemble. So first, it says to set up 31 folders in your banker boxes. The next thing you need to do is print your labels from your jump drive. These are what the labels look like. Throughout the entire pack of labels, you will see red header labels. This tells you where the labels go, and all of the labels that follow that header will go in that location. So for example, this header label tells you that all of the following labels go into the frequently used material box 1. For the initial assembly, you are going to flip through the labels until you see this header that says Labels for Pocket Folders. Take all of the following labels and put them on the pocket folders in this order. Now we have followed the first 3 steps on the initial assembly instructions. We've assembled our banker's boxes and folders, we've printed the labels, and we've attached them to the pocket folders. You will notice that a lot of your labels have gone unused. Save these because they will be used during the second phase of assembly, the full assembly. So now we're ready to proceed with the 4th step, which is taking material from the brown box and putting it into its appropriate unit folder. So I'm going to reach in and pull out the first material. I'm going to look at the label, which will tell me what it is, and these are sequence mats. So looking at my production manual, I see that the sequence mats go in the first folder, which is frequently used materials. The next material I pull out is called my practice book. Again, I'm going to reference the production manual. It tells me to put it in the frequently used materials pocket folder. The next materials I pull out are reading booklets. I know these are reading booklets because the label is on the back. Each reading booklet is labeled with the unit number and the title. So I'm going to sort each booklet into its corresponding folder. So this is Unit 1, this is Unit 2, and so on until all of the booklets have been distributed. The next material I'm going to pull out is a box of cards that have already been cut and need to be sorted. This is what a box of cut cards looks like. These need to be sorted and put into the appropriate folders. In order to help me do that, I'm going to use 2 resources. One, my production manual, pages 6 and 7. This provides a detailed description of each type of card and where to put it. The second resource I'm going to use are the labels on each cut card. Also, before you start sorting, you want to decide on how you're going to group similar cards together. You can use rubber bands, binder clips, plastic bags. It's up to you, but have those ready because you're going to use them as you sort these cards. Okay. Before I start any sorting, I need to make sure that each pile has the same type of card on top. Think of all 6 piles as one layer or page. Every layer or page needs to have the same type of card on it. So I'm going to look at the label. Activity cards FUM. This should be the first layer in every stack. Activity cards FUM. Oh, different label. This says 13 vocabulary picture card. I'm going to pick up this pile. Underneath it is a stack of activity cards FUM. Great. The top row is done. They all have activity cards FUM. I'm going to look at the bottom row. Here's another label that says 13 vocabulary picture card. So I'm going to switch it and find the activity cards FUM. Now, all of the cards on this first layer are the same and they're ready to be sorted. Now that I have cut off the rubber bands of each pile, and I have checked to make sure that each stack starts with the same type of card, I'm ready to group the cards together and sort them. As I gather cards, I am going layer by layer or page by page. So I'm going to take one from each pile. I've collected one layer. Now I'm going to look at my labels again and see each layer still says activity cards, FUM. So I'm going to keep going. I continued through the stack of cards layer by layer, looking for the cards that all have the activity cards FUM label. I know that this pack is complete because the next label has everyday vocabulary FUM. So I'm going to put a rubber band around the activity cards and place them into my frequently used material because frequently used materials is synonymous with FUM. Now I'm going to continue through this box layer by layer, grouping cards with the same label together. I'm continuing to sort through this box of cards. I've come to a new type of label. This label says 1 vocabulary picture card. The number references what unit this card is used in, and the words that follow it are the type of card. So I'm going to take all of the cards with the number 1, referencing that these go in Unit 1. I'm going to gather them together, and I'm going to put them in my Unit 1 pocket folder. You are going to continue to do this until all of the cards in the box are gone. So let's take a look at this stack of materials that I've pulled out of my box. The first label says FUM. FUM, 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 FUM. Now I look at this label. This has a different label. So all of the cards that I took that have the FUM label, I'm going to put them in my frequently used materials folder. The next label says cut the cards and instructions out to keep in your narrative practice time folder. Great, I know exactly where that goes. Next, I see the number 1. That means Unit 1. So I'm going to flip through all of these materials and keep going until I no longer see Unit 1. Remember, our goal right now is to get all of these materials sorted, not necessarily cut. The next material I see has a number 2. That indicates these are Unit 2 materials. So I'm going to take all of the materials that I just took out with the Unit 1, put them in the folder, and move along to Unit 2. You will continue in this way through the entire box of materials. Now let's take a closer look at the materials that go into each unit. 2 things you need to pay attention to. First, every page has a label on it that tells you what kind of card it is, where it goes, and if it needs to be cut. So for example, this label says sequence word cards. That's the kind of card this is. It goes into the frequently used materials folder, and it needs to be cut out. You're going to look at the label on every page to know what to do with the material. The second thing you need to note is that any material with a gray line needs to be cut out. This rule stands for every type of material with the exception of 1. The story picture cards have a black border. In order to preserve the visual clarity of these pictures, we left the black border, but they need to be cut out. Again, when you get to this type of material, refer to the label. It says 2, goes in Unit 2. The story pictures, that's the type of label it is, and it says to cut out on the black lines. We highly recommend that you use a paper cutter as you cut these materials. Now that I have sorted all of my unit material into pocket folders Units 1 through 29, I'm ready to assemble my practice time folder. Remember, you are still using your production manual on pages 4 and 5 under the initial assembly directions to guide you. Item number 6 explains how to assemble your practice time folder. So you are going to get an expanding wallet, and in it you're going to put 17 manila folders. For practice time, you need 2 different types of labels. The first type of label is included in the pack of labels you have already printed. Look through the labels until you see the red header label that says Begin Practice Time Folder Labels. The second type of label is on your jump drive in the Labels folder, and these are full page labels. These labels match the pages in your manual and give you specific directions on how to implement this practice time activity. Print the labels and stick them on each manila folder. Now you're ready to begin the second phase of assembly, which is called full assembly. During this phase, you are going to take 2 types of materials. 1, frequently used materials, and 2, practice time materials. You're going to take these out of the unit folders and put them into specific locations so that these materials are easily accessible. Let's start with the frequently used materials. I am going to refer back to my production manual, page 8, that says the fully assembled kit, organizing the frequently used materials cards into 3 index boxes. I am going to follow the directions on these pages. So first, you need to set up 3 black boxes and get your indexed tabbed cards ready. The labels that you need to attach to the index card dividers are included in the pack of labels you've already printed and have been using during the initial assembly. Look through your labels and find the red header that says Begin FUM Box 1. Take all of the labels that follow that header, put them on index tab dividers, and put them in an index card box. You will know it's time to switch to another box of materials when you get to the second red header that says Begin FUM Box 2. all of the labels that follow this header will go into a second and separate box. You will continue doing this, also taking note of the header that says Begin FUM Box 3, until you have 3 boxes, each full of index tab dividers, ready to be filled with frequently used materials. Now that you have assembled your FUM boxes, you're ready to start filling them. I'm going to use a page from the production manual to guide me as I do this. On page 9, there is a list of all of the contents of each FUM box. So as you are sorting materials, if you come to a material that you are unsure of where it goes, refer to this page. Also on this page, notice that there are 2 different color headings, red and blue. The blue titled headings mean that these are cards that came from the pre-cut boxes. You have already grouped these together and stored them. They're cut and ready to go. The red titled cards are cut from the unit full page material. If the card is under a heading that is red, look in your unit pocket folder for that frequently used material. Now we're ready to sort materials from each pocket folder into the frequently used materials or practice time. You are going to look in 2 places for materials to sort. The very first folder in your very first banker's box called frequently used materials, and then each individual unit folder. So let's take a look at some of the materials we've already sorted into the FUM folder. The first thing I see are activity cards FUM. These cards were previously cut. I myself did not have to cut them. So I'm going to go to my production manual, page 9. I'm going to look at all of the blue titles and find the word activity cards. Here it is. It says activity cards in FUM Box 2. So I'm going to take my cards, look in FUM Box 2, find the index tab label, and store them in there. The next item are everyday vocabulary cards, FUM. Again, this is another type of card that was pre-cut. I myself did not have to cut them. So I'm going to go to my production manual, look for the blue titles that say everyday vocabulary cards. Here it is, everyday vocabulary cards in box 2. Here's my index tab divider, and I'll put them in there. Some of the materials in your FUM folder will stay there. Those are some of the bigger materials that might not fit into the black boxes, such as your My Practice book or your sequence mats. Now let's take a look at one full unit of materials and see how to sort them into the appropriate places. Now I have sorted these materials and cut them, so I'm ready to sort out the frequently used materials. So as you look through each card, if it has a unit specific number on it, that means it's going to stay in the unit folder. So let me look. Unit 3, Unit 3. Here's a card that says Syllable Count Cards FUM. That means they need to be stored in a frequently used materials box. So these cards I myself cut. So now I know that on my production manual, I need to look at the red labels. Here they are, Syllable Count Cards, box 1. Here's another material that says FUM. Again, I myself had to cut these. So on my production manual, I'm looking for the red label. Syllable segmentation, FUM box 1. Here's my index tab, and in they go. I'm going to go back to the unit materials. Unit 3, Unit 3, Unit 3, 3, 3. All of these materials will permanently stay in the Unit 3 folder. Now I have successfully sorted the frequently used materials out from my Unit 3 folder. You are going to do this for every single unit. As teachers across the country have implemented Foundations for Literacy, we've received some feedback with additional ideas of how to organize your materials. Alternative to having separate index card boxes for your FFL materials and a separate practice time folder would be to have manila folders that you store within each unit pocket folder. There are 3 folders here with the labels FFL, unit material, practice time. Each of these materials also has the specific unit label. You will put 3 manila folders with these labels and the corresponding unit into every pocket folder. Now that I have labeled my 3 manila folders and placed them inside my Unit 1 pocket folder, I'm ready to sort the material into the corresponding folder. The purpose of these folders is so that you have easy access to the 3 different types of material you need: frequently used material, unit material, and practice time. Please have your Foundations for Literacy manual open to page 49. This page will give you a list of all the different practice time activities that you may encounter and will help you know which materials need to be sorted into your practice time folder. Here we go. I'm looking at the labels and I see Unit 1 vocabulary picture card. That doesn't say FFL, and it's not on my practice time list, so I know it's a unit material. Same with the Rebus cards. Unit 1, not on my practice time, so it goes into unit material. The next material I have says 1, character name, FUM. I'm going to put it in my frequently used folder. I'm going to continue to sort through all of these in this same fashion, referencing the label as well as my practice time activities and sorting them accordingly. Now I see the label that says narrative practice. I look at my practice time and I see that narrative practice can be used during practice time. So I'm going to store this in the practice time folder. Now I have finished sorting my materials so that they're easily accessible while I teach. Remember, this is not mandatory. This is an alternative if you do not want to use the black boxes and separate practice time folder. Thank you.